All right. Good evening, everybody. There's another, you're here with another Jazz Matters podcast. And today we got the percussionist, educator, our good friend, Lawrence Jennings, joining us. And of course, you know, we have Mr. Vaughn Coulter from Jazz Beats Radio. And we're going to go ahead and get it started as soon as we can. I just got a few things to say as far as Jazz Matters. We want you to go to Yes Jazz Matters and .org and look at the, we have a store, a Jazz Matters store. I'd like for you to check out the apparel in the store. We'd also like for you to look at the donate page and click on that and send a donation to us because we are a 501c3. If you can, we will have Mr. Jennings here 1 second. I'm having a little technical difficulty with this thing. But what we're going to do is go ahead and get started. So, Lawrence, what was it that got you into this business, this music business? And just let the people know who you are and where you're from, but mainly how you got into the business.
Okay, yes, thank you, Edwin. My name is Lawrence Jennings. I am a percussionist drummer. And I started in the business, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. And my uncle, Luther Jennings, was one of the founding original members of the Jackson Southern Airs, a blues gospel group. And so I've always been around music. My mother encouraged all of us, my siblings, we had to play an instrument. Brother played a trumpet, trombone, drums, clarinet, piano with my sisters and whatnot. And I came from a musical family. And I was the one that stayed with it. And I was influenced by just drums. I enjoyed beats, as we all do. That's our natural, instinctive thing to do as African Americans. But I was really drawn to it. And my brother was in the band in high school, and I used to listen to him. So moving forward, I started playing drums, took lessons. I was studying with a gentleman by the name of Alvin Field and Jack Jones, and I became good with it. I went to high school. I was district honor, all honor band, and state honor band, and it afforded me a scholarship to college. And I went to Jackson State University, and that's when my eyes really opened because they encouraged us to stay in the genre of jazz, to play, know our history. And I had an opportunity to meet one of my mentors was Freddie Waits. He was a drummer out of Jackson, Mississippi as well, but he went on up to New York and played with a number of artists, famous artists. And he came to Jackson State one year with Woody Shaw. And Woody was losing his sight during that time, but they did some appearances and I got an opportunity to play a song or two with them. But we always at the HBCUs, we encourage our students to know the history, know some history about our music. This music we call jazz. It's American jazz, classical music. So there at Jackson State, we got an opportunity. I started, playing with some trios. I was a drummer in the Sunny Boom of the South, but I didn't know much about playing the drum set in the genres of music that I could play. And I started playing, and I realized I had a pretty decent ear that I could accompany. So I started working around town at a very early age. I think I skipped some in there, but prior to doing my college years, I had an opportunity to work with Larry Addison and Greg Robertson. We had a trio, and these guys were members of Malaco Sound. They were musicians. They're session musicians. And in Jackson, Malaco Records is one of the largest music venues there, and it's mostly blues. Jeff Taylor, Bobby Bland, Little Milton. So that's what I basically came up around. I was really not so joyful with the blues at the beginning at my age because I wanted to play the hip hop stuff. But I started playing blues, and I remember one time I was playing with a gentleman by the name of Cadillac George Harris. It was one of my first gigs, and I said, "What if my friends come in and see me playing this music?" I felt embarrassed, but that was just immaturity on my part, because blues is indigenous with us as well. So I continued to play and did some jazz trios. I was working at a supper club, and maybe around 79, 78, and was doing very well with it, and had the opportunity to tour with some groups, but I was in college. So I had to make a decision if I wanted to stay with my music, or go out and just make this money, this quick money, whatnot. As I look back on it now, I'm very fortunate. I'm glad that God was with me and he directed me. I just stayed with my education, my degree I received from Jackson State University of Music, was in music education. I moved from a performance major to an education major. And I came over, I was in New Orleans once playing with a group, and I met a group called Cash Money. And at the time, I didn't know who Larry Blackman was, but it was a group out of Atlanta, and Larry and I had a talk. We were playing on a different floor. We were going to do some corporate work. And he told me, he said, "Listen, man, you should come to Atlanta. There's a lot of work going on there." At the time, I think there was one of his side groups, Cash Money, but I remember that. And then I met Marcus Williams somewhere. I don't know if I was on the road or whatnot, and Marcus was telling me about how the musicians in Atlanta used to have so much, in common. They were making good money and doing well in life. And in 82, 84, I migrated to Atlanta, and I started off, I was working at a grocery store, a night stock, and then I was selling facsimile machines and during the day with a music degree. But I continued and started working with a gentleman by the name of Bill Brannon. Bill Brannon had a big band. They would play on Sundays at the Frat House there off Greenbrier. And when I joined his band, I think that was Hank Moore, Dub Hudson, Mason Johnson, and whatnot. Those guys, these were older guys, but man, it was swinging. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and the opportunity that was given to me to play with the band was mainly on my playing ability and my ability to read music. I'm so glad that I stayed in that vein. And the rest is, I met a lot of good Pete Holem and Jimmy Jackson, guys on the scene here in Atlanta that were very open and very receptive and gave me pointers. And I started working. I started quitting my job, and that door opened a door to Jumanji Productions. Evan, I think we were on a tour with Teresa Hightower and what was it? Renee Clark, and Hakeem Marshall. We did a Southeastern tour with Jumanji and Queen of the Blues, I think is what we were doing at the time. And I worked briefly. Prior to that, I was working with phone company Bell South. I was doing some stuff, but I really got back into the music as an educator when I met Eddie Ellis, trombone player. He's former director of McNair High School and Morris Brown College in South Carolina. He used to come out, and at the Omega House, we had a big crowd there every Sunday. We did that for about 5 or 6 years, and he offered me an opportunity to come and work with his band at McNair High School there on Boulder Crest as a percussion instructor. I went and did that, and he said, "Hey man, well, look, you got your degree. Just go ahead and do your certification test, and get into it." So I really was in more of a performance idiom. I was gigging and playing, but I had the degree to fall back on, and that's what I would encourage all young budding artists, if you have that opportunity, and to get your degree, whether it be performing or in education. I would definitely pursue that, because now I look back 35, 40 years later, and it's something that I could use, and I went on and started teaching at McNair as an assistant to Mr. Ellis. And from that point, I went to Chapel Hill Middle School with James Berry, Dr. Berry and Don Robinson, those guys, Natalie Brown, and left there and went to Cedar Grove with Michael LeQueer. He's a New Orleans musician, excellent woodwinist. He's down at, I think he's over at Morehouse now. No, he's at Clark, I'm sorry. So from there, I went and had my own high school band, Towers High School in the 90s. And there was always a conflict that being a professional musician and then being an educator. You know, I would leave football games and go straight to a gig and stuff like that. And as I got older, I realized having a dual career, I need to slow it down a little bit. You know, I couldn't do the high school, so I went to elementary school and then up there and back to middle school. But it was good for me. I enjoyed it. Teaching those young people, and I had a good, you know, a jazz band. The students really gravitated to the jazz, you know. And I mean, we had an all-star stellar concert band and pep band and whatnot, but our jazz band at Tucker Middle School, we had 13, 14-year-old kids, 12. And they sound like grown men. You know, of course, we had some charts that were suitable for that age bracket, but I realized then that the more you challenge these young people today, the more they want to step up to that, you know, to that thing. I know that's long-winded, but you had some other questions, I'm pretty sure, Vaughn. And anything else?
Well, yeah, man. As a matter of fact, you mentioned a lot of players from the metro area here, like Dub Hudson and so forth. Dub just had basically his 90th birthday, and he's still active. It's just that he doesn't. Of course, nobody's going out and playing right now because of the environment. You know, we all under the same restrictions right now as far as gigging. But you know, he too was an educator, and just like you mentioned, the Omega House. The Omega House was one of the venues that was really on the way to being like an institution for live jazz music. And it's a shame, you know, of course, those venues are gone now. And there was nothing really there to take the place, you know, of them. So like at Jazz Matters here, we've been on this quest for several years, 5 to 6 years, to try to actually bring the heritage and the culture back in jazz music. And so what we've been doing, of course, is giving all the resident talent a platform to perfect their craft. That does not exist right now. And in a lot of other states, a lot of other places are closing the doors permanently in that situation. So it's kind of interesting to me when we do get out of this cloud, so to say, what is going to be there? What do you think is going to be there for the musician?
Well, and that's a good question, Elwin. That's something that we really need to answer that. We need to prepare for the future now. If we do not continue to promote our music, our artists, and this genre we call jazz, then it'll be lost and it will get twisted throughout history. You know, it'll change up and say, well, they did this, or this person invented this and started this style, because we'll lose our heritage, our history. It's imperative, it's important. As educators, as professional musicians, as you guys are as well, we promote it. We give the platform. I never forget, you gave me an opportunity to bring a middle school jazz band to the, I think it was at the Lou Walker Center, one of the centers over here.
Oh yeah, it was the Porter Sanford.
Porter Sanford, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that experience that my students had with that, just you offering us that opportunity and open those doors, they still talk about it. They're in their mid-20s now, and I see them and say, Mr. Jennings, you remember we went and did this? And they had a nice, a good audience that was very receptive, people that love jazz and understand it. And it did so much to encourage them. And that's what we must do. We need to really get a venue. One of our great predecessors, musician J.O. Wyatt, I think you mentioned earlier, you know, he had Just Jazz. I used to go down there after my gig. Man, those cats be playing 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, Johnny O'Neill and Jimmy and, you know, those cats. Right. Just, it was like feeding the soul. You know, you go there, you finish a gig at the hotel or whatnot, you go down there and listen to jazz at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, the thing, and the crowd was conducive to what was going on. So and I appreciate you guys, Vaughn, and you as well, what you're doing, chronicling the history of the musicians in this city. You know, we need to have some documentation. These podcasts are very well. You know, you're doing the best, you're doing the right thing. You guys are doing it, and do not be discouraged. And we as musicians need to support you. We need to do this. We need to, you know, we need to go to your store. We need to, not just as, you know, just to get on, but just to make sure that you keep what you're doing, you keep this going, because it's very, very important. But people without a vision, you know, without a history, don't have their history, don't know their vision. You know, have to have a vision, you got to know your history. So continue to do what you're doing. Continue to
Yeah, I mean, that's very well put. The thing is that we are in a situation now where it's more, it is really vital that we continue to give musicians like yourself a platform, because, like I say, once we come out of this cloud, a lot of the brick and mortar places will be shut down. There won't be a cultural center for jazz, so to say. In Atlanta, the way Atlanta is building and growing, nobody's building those type of places. Right. So we at Jazz Matters are basically trying to keep the platform available for all the musicians, regardless to whether you're doing straight ahead jazz, the contemporary style, smooth jazz, whatever it is. You know, even if you're transitioning from one genre of music, because we get a lot of people that transition from gospel or R&B, and they want to do jazz. You know what I'm saying? They never had the opportunity. So we're here to try to give them that opportunity to do it. We have people around us that can mentor them into that and tell them the do's and don'ts, you know, as far as, you know, how to keep themselves, you know, in the know of really what the concepts of the music that they really want to do, how to actually present it, how to perform it. Right. So the deal is, if, like you said, if you can go to jazzmatters.org, you can learn everything about us. And also, like I said, go to the Jazz Matters store. And I got one of my t-shirts on too, which is cool. And Vaughn always keep it on. Vaughn is the actual billboard. There he is.
Is that Vaughn? Oh, Vaughn, okay.
He's the billboard. He's the actual billboard for Jazz Matters.
Absolutely. I am the brand ambassador.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. But we know that we everything is there. All the information is there. So just go to it and try to grab whatever you can as far as the information, as far as merchandising it, and don't forget to donate, because as a 501c3, you know, we're a nonprofit organization and we need the support of the community, because if the way it's looking, we may be the only support for jazz after the cloud lifts, you know, because everybody else is pretty much shutting the door on a lot of things. Mm-hmm. But even through our podcast, and we're working on virtual concerts now, like I said, the information is there, and everybody out there can go and check it out for themselves, and they can comment and write to us and so forth about their organization. Now, one more thing about, for you, Lawrence, I know that you're doing a lot, or was doing a lot in the teaching in the school system, and as well as playing. But is there any projects you're working on for yourself at this point?
Well, good question. You know, and when I did 28 years in DeKalb County School as a music educator. Unfortunately, I had to bring it to an end about 4 years ago. I was diagnosed with cancer. By the grace of God, I'm here to speak with you guys now. And so it has really put me in a situation that I am, I'm contemplating, you know, where do I want to go in my career at this time? As you can see, I've been working on my keys, just trying to get, you know, it's a tedious process after dealing with that chemo and stuff for so long. And, you know, once you get it out your system, just getting your motor skills back together. But I think in my heart, I'll always be an educator. I'll be one to teach. I'm doing a couple of private lessons now, brass instruments. But I'm working on putting my trio and quartet. You know, I had a trio, a quartet. We were working prior to the pandemic, and everything just slowed down. I think the last gig I did was July 4th, and I was very, I would say, apprehensive and frightened at the time because, you know, when you're playing out, you know, people all around you, you never know. But one of the projects that I'm working on now, I'm just putting together some songs, putting some things together, some thoughts and ideas of what I've never produced, did an album, anything like that, but there are some songs I've had like 2 or 3 years, so I'm going back to build that up, build on that, and try to continue to put something out here before I get too old. But I'm still, I would like to develop what we call a creative musicians network, basically what you guys are doing. When, you know, since I've been speaking with you and just watching some of your podcasts, you're absolutely right. There's a void, a big void. And it's not just for jazz only, but just the musicians. We need to come together in this community, Atlanta communities. We see each other at the gig, but we need to come together and start setting it up for later on down the road. You know, when we pass on, can't do the things we need to do because at some point, you know, you can play for the rest of your life, but you need to have something else set up, you know, and I want to keep it in a musical idiom. So I'm looking at Creative Musicians Network as an opportunity for musicians just to collaborate, bring in some artists, bring in some clinics and whatnot for our younger people to experience, you know, get an opportunity to experience what the guys that came before them are doing. And we have some outstanding musicians right here in this town, you know, that can do it.
Yeah, this town is full of them. You know, I mean, from the time that I was here, I mean, it was the same way. A lot of them, of course, had went on to do tours with major artists and so forth, including myself. But the thing is, there was always a pool of great educators, great musicians that could come. My whole thing was I never saw them come together,
right?
You know, to actually create, you know, a cultural center for the music. You know, everybody pretty much off into their own thing. But that's another reason why I put together the Jazz Matters situation, because I didn't want to be somebody that just basically is out there either chasing the gig, you know, or waiting on a gig to do a gig. That's all I do. You know, the whole thing is that the entire jazz community, especially, is so underserved in the whole scheme of the music concepts these days. We don't have really many outlets, or in a lot of cases, zero outlets, because there is no place that's doing it like 6 or 7 days a week, you know. It used to be, I mean, you know, but all that's gone now. So the thing is, yeah, we have to really figure out a way, and I've been doing it for a while, trying to figure out how to actually get all these great creative minds and musicians together to form the network that actually is a network, you know, and we can get together and talk about, you know, how to really do that. And I know me and you have been talking about trying to connect for a couple of years now. Right. So the thing is, we got plenty of time now because of the pandemic, that's for sure.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So when you do get that project on yourself, you know, like, it doesn't have to be a whole CD or anything like that. It could be a little EP or it could be a single. You're talking to the right guy, which is Vaughn Culture over there, and he'll make sure he put you out there, you know, give you an audience, you know. Vaughn, Vaughn, I know Vaughn wanted to give you a little bit of insight on himself and what he's learned about you so far.
Well, I want to start off by saying this. Mr. Jennings, you have taken me back to my past.
Oh, yeah.
And I was listening to you as an educator, most of all. 24 years in the schools, trying to keep the knowledge of this art form, America's original art form, on the minds of our culture. I mean, of the culture that we have created in this country.
Yes.
And I started thinking about when I was in middle school, and that's where my musical career started. I joined, I kind of did it because my older brother was in it, and I joined the junior high school band. And I'd have to say that was a turning point in my life, you know, because I grew up a nerd, of course, so I think most of us did. Yeah. But, you know, I had no idea the impact that music education that I got in middle school was going to travel with me for the rest of my life. So, you know, it's important that we all, and I have to reiterate a lot of those things that you said. I mean, it's tough out there for America's original art form. It really is. It's competing against so many other factors. Basically, a lot of it has to do monetarily with its support and financial backing. It's not enough for us to, I think what we're doing is an important step, but we need to be in the schools.
Yeah.
And we have to reinforce what your mission is, to get it back in the schools again. It's taken a big hit financially. Most of these small, elementary schools and high schools and middle schools don't even have music programs anymore, because they cut back on funds. And usually that's the first things to go, the arts. So, I'm with you 100%. I'm sitting here in my mind trying to figure out how can we do this expeditiously, because I don't know how much time we got left to get back into the schools. And, you never know how things are going to turn. And with COVID going on, we got to wait and see. Everything is standing still. But we need to find a way to move this ball forward. Because I remember when I had graduated high school, and I saw this traveling production that John Hendricks had did back in this, I think it was like the 70s, entitled Evolution of the Blues. It was an incredible production that John Hendricks put together. And he traveled all over the country with this thing for several years. And it was on, I saw it on stage. I grew up in Los Angeles, and it was one of the most breathtaking pieces of education I ever got in my life. And I see us embarking in this type of program where we can get out there in the schools with a traveling educational multimedia thing, to get out there to these schools and be able to let them know the history of this music and how valuable it is for us to preserve it. And so, it's remarkable, and I'm really thankful that you're here, because you know, I think, you know, as a student when I was in middle school, it's had a huge impact on my life. And the arts are important to our culture.
Exactly.
And you know, that's how I feel about it. And with my radio station as a programmer, nobody else is doing what I do. I try to mix the past with the present, embracing the future of this medium. And I think that's a goal that I always want to pursue. I want to keep that in mind, that this music didn't just start with Herbie Hancock. You know, it didn't just start with Boney James. This thing goes back to the turn of the century, you know, and it moved forward. And it's like a fine timeline that is kind of like blended in with everything else that has taken place over the last 100 years. So, you know, we have to do what we have to do as advocates and educators to keep this thing alive.
Exactly. Yeah. And Von, you are the voice, a powerful voice in this community. What is your call numbers for your station? Where can we listen to you? I mean, what station are you on?
Well, I will tell you this. My general manager does not like us to call it internet radio station. We are a viable source. We, you know, yeah, we compete against the long-standing jazz station in this city. Yes, we do. But you know, I'm kind of pushing him more toward, you know, let's be impactful in the community.
Exactly.
Let's be an advocate for this music. Let's let's preserve this art form. And you know, this is my mission. So that's what I'm, you know, my quest is to put it back in the forefront, because we've been in the background for so long. You know, no, it's like, you know, people, you know, they can have it piped into their offices, they can have it piped into their coffee shops and things like that, but it's just background music. But it's much more than that. It
Exactly.
always has been. You know, so yeah, you can find it's Jazz Beats Radio. It's you can find it's on the internet, jazzbeatsradio.com, and you know, you can pull up our webpage and you know, see exactly how we have existed for 8 years.
Oh,
And we're currently our general manager is currently keep pushing the envelope, putting out there more stations with more different formats. But his station, Jazz Beats Radio, was its is the flagship station for his company.
okay.
And I'm totally involved in it. I'm immersed in it and try daily to keep it fresh and keep it viable in the community. That's
Great.
my mission.
Yeah.
It's pretty much we have kind of a trio of things going right now, because Vaughn is dealing with the airwaves. Uh, we deal with live performance more so than anything else. And you, Lawrence, to put your network together is more on the educational side of the music,
Mm-hmm.
which is a really good combination. And the thing is, we just have to put it together. As far as Jazz Matters goes, like I said, me and Lawrence have been talking quite a bit, and basically trying to. My whole thing is to try to figure out what it is that we could do for each other. Uh, the main thing is with Jazz Matters is being 501c3, we have to survive off of donations and sponsorships. So therefore, we have the facility and the tools and everything. We just need the listeners out there to understand if they really are jazz enthusiasts, then they can go to yesjazzmatters.org and donate to it. And we'll all of and basically in this city, we will be able to produce and give you the actual performance value of the music in person. Not that you have to listen to it on radio all the time, but there's one thing that's missing right now, and people really are getting really hungry or a serious appetite for live performances. Uh, we're doing virtual, but you know, at the same time, we are human beings. We are social people. We have to have a social atmosphere about certain things that we enjoy, and just to like I said, just go to yesjazzmatters.org, and everything is there. Just everything you need to know about the organization is there. Lawrence, what do you see right now moving forward as far as you, myself, and Vaughn, and just actually creating something that is something that everybody can benefit from? Like, in other words, we know that people want live entertainment. We know that we are up against an unseen enemy, so to say, which is going to cause a lot of wreak a lot of havoc as far as people being able to actually come to see live stuff. So I'm looking at it where if we can get enough support, I think we can pretty much get people to or get them adjusted or prepared for it, simply because we have a platform to do it with. And what do you think, in the meantime, by you being an educator, what is it going to take? Because we've actually approached schools about, putting the music or exposing the children to the music at an early age. But, some schools accept it, some schools don't, and it goes back to budget cuts, of course. But if you donate to us, we can actually make it happen, because it won't be a burden necessarily on the schools.
Yeah.
You think something like that would be a good thing, especially now?
Well, that's a good question, Edwin. As Vaughn was speaking earlier, something came across me. You guys have the database. We have the musicians. We have access to the musicians. You have the contact information, and now it's just putting it together. It's like, we have all the ingredients together to bake this cake out of this pie, but now we just have to put it together. And one of the things, you're absolutely right, Vaughn, it really also starts in the school. It starts with education. If we could use some of the facility there to host a jazz committee of a discussion or performance. Also, we need, and when you and I talked about that, I can see it just as clear as a bell now. You're absolutely right. You need a liaison with the education system and what Jazz Matters is doing. And we can, if we develop that in a way that, we get the directors of these high school, middle school bands, give them a platform, as you say, a place to showcase their talent, as you did with the Porter Sanford building. And that was going great, but it does take finances. Money doesn't grow on trees, and never has. So what we have to do is just be vigilant and just continue to push forward. I will, we as musicians, artists, radio personalities, like you're doing now, you're donating your time. It's a thankless job. But if we continue to do that, then you said something earlier. I can't think of a place now in Atlanta where you can hear, live, straight ahead jazz, And a lot of people are not into jazz. Some are not into, but we are doing this to preserve our heritage. We're doing this to preserve the legacy of those that have come before us. And it is an art form unlike any other. That's why, I look at the caption, jazz, when you, as a jazz musician, when you're playing, you're swinging or improvising, it lets you be you, as you said, who you are. And it's an art form that we cannot lose. We shall not let it go. I go to Europe, people are very respectful of this music. They're humble with you, and we just need to and broaden our brand, which is the Jazz Matters. We have to just broaden that and get more people involved with it. And maybe there should be some type of campaign that we could get together and just bring the awareness up and bring it up, because this is a great thing that you're doing. You guys are doing, you know, you said you've interviewed, I'm pretty sure, many musicians in this city. And there are many that you haven't interviewed, but it's a start. And see, that's that database that you're collecting now that's going to, we got to take it and figure out, well, where we're going to put it, how we're going to use it. And Edwin and Vaughn, you know, like you guys, we have to get together as men, as businessmen, and have a plan. How we're going to push it. And in education, you know, that is our greatest venue. Because if we could, Joe Jennings, Bernard Lynette, those guys, we used to do jazz, you know, I used to do programs as well during the Black History Month. We go to the schools and everybody gets excited and hear the jazz band, we talk about it, but we need to do that every month. We need to do it on a consistent basis, you know, and just put it in a rotation. And then it becomes, it's expected. And what that exposure is doing is opening the light. The light is coming on to those that say, wow, as Vaughn said, you know, his beginning experiences were in middle school. Those things are erasable. You can never forget the impact. So the earlier you catch them in that elementary, middle school area, earlier you catch them with this music, and it grabs them. And then it's a continuation. But also, as you said, you know, we need a venue where they can come and express that before a live audience, if need be. So, you know, you guys, I praise you humbly, Edwin, for what you're doing, and Vaughn. Keep the light going. That's all you're doing. You're just a beacon of light. Continue to do it, even if it is an internet station. The key is, it's not who you know, but it's who knows you. That's the key in this society, in this multimedia society we live in now. The more people hit you on that site and see what's going on, then the awareness of what we're doing comes up, and then we can market it even better. You know, but education is the key, you know, to further success. As a gentleman told me once, what was it he said, will set you free. The truth will set you free. Yeah. But the education, your education will set you up for life. And it's what you know. So, you know, we could go on and go on and go on. But as we sit here and speak, I think that the spirit hit me that that's one of the things we got to get in those schools. And I'm willing, if in a way, you know, Evan, we've talked about it before, but I need to stop talking. Yeah, and we need to plan in action.
Exactly. So, man, it was great. You came on today, and we learned a lot about you. I'm not going to let them. I'm glad you didn't go into the, you know, the other stuff, the hidden stuff, but. You know, everything is good. Really good. Is there any way the listeners can contact you? Is there a website or is there any
you can just
email, whatever?
Yeah, I'll give you my email, my website. Once I got out of education, it sort of floated down, but you can reach me at jazzdrum, JAZZDRUM, at mindspring.com. Jazzdrum at mindspring.com. I've had that domain for quite some time now. You know, those are original musicians.
Yeah.
Started that out of Georgia Tech. Those guys are millionaires now. Bass player, the drummer.
Right.
And I stayed with it, and so you know, musicians are very creative. But thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to express my views and my history, and just keep up the good work.
So, Vaughn, let them know where everyone can contact you.
Right. starting off again. It's going to be at jazzbeatsradio.com. And you can also find me. I do have a YouTube page. It's Jazz Beats Radio. I'm sorry, let me start that again. It's Soulscapes. That's SOULSCAPES on Jazz Beats Radio. Soulscapes on Jazz Beats Radio. That's my YouTube page. And you can go on there and subscribe to it. And you'll find out, I do some presentations on there. You'll see like tons of music that, represents my life. And it's a pretty extensive playlist from jazz from the 1950s all the way up to the present day. And so it's pretty elaborate, but I live by that music. And it's not just jazz. It's the cultural art form known as soul, R&B, prior to when George Clinton changed it to rhythm and business. It's still rhythm and blues during my time period. And it's fusion, it's jazz funk, it's all of those genres or subgenres of that original art form. So, you can find me there as well. And then my Facebook, I'm on Facebook as well. And also my Twitter, and which is Soulscapes1. And so, I try to take advantage of all of those avenues for social media because, unfortunately, we need this kind of stuff right now. We really do.
And, of course, you can always get a hold of me at yesjazzmatters.org. And make sure you also subscribe, make sure you like us, let your friends know to tune in. We do have, like I said, a Jazz Matters store. We do accept donations. We are a 501c3 organization. So we'll probably be doing a virtual concert soon. I don't have the date with me right now, but we are moving into that area. We're learning a lot as we go. And if there is anyone out there that has that type of background in geography and so forth, you can always go to Yes Jazz Matters and just let us know. Like I said, subscribe to it and like us. And what we'll do is see you on the next one. That is it for us now. And thanks everybody for being with us. And we will definitely keep you posted on what's available at Jazz Matters, like at any time we're getting ready to do stuff, especially with the live stuff, because we're really anxious about getting that off the ground. Okay, thanks again, Lawrence, and we'll holler.
It's been a lot.
Peace out. All right.
Peace out.